Hello everyone. In this video I want to talk about how to write a summary and why they are so important in academic writing. So to first understand that, I want to present a way of thinking about writing. And that means think about writing as entering a conversation, or in other words, entering the conversation. So this idea comes from a book called They Say, I Say, which is really influential to me as a writer. And I think it's really helpful in terms of understanding how do we write about a topic, especially one we're not familiar with. So entering a conversation basically means the following. It means thinking about writing as a conversation where many different groups and many different people are involved, and they're sharing their opinions through writing and various other types of media. And if you want to enter into that conversation, you need to know two specific things. So I have them here on the screen. So the first thing you want to know is the particular aspect that people are talking about at the moment in regards to the topic that you're writing about. And then the second thing you want to know are what are the major opinions that are being shared on that topic. If you know those two things, then you're in a better place to sort of enter the conversation and respond in a way that it feels relevant and concrete. So I'll give you an example just to share. So let's say you want to write an essay on immigration, right, in the US. So one of the things you need to understand is, where are we at in terms of that conversation in regard to immigration? So, you can take immigration in the US as a very broad general topic, but people are talking about specific things at the moment in regard to immigration. Things like asylum, detention centers, the role that ICE plays. Now, if you think about those three areas that you can take, you're also then going to think about what various groups say about those topics. So there could be religious groups, there could be government agencies, there could be activist organizations, political parties, your own family members, your friends, right? Everybody's going to come in with their own opinion on that topic. And if you want to become a better arguer, you want to start from a place that feels grounded, that shows to your readers that you've been listening to the conversation and you're ready to respond in kind. So you want to listen to those conversations. So as you learn those two things, keep in mind that I want you to become a better writer. And by becoming a better writer, that basically means you become a better arguer in paper. And so that means you have to enter into a conversation, knowing what the issue is and knowing what people are saying about that issue. That's going to make you an informed participant on that topic. So there's a difference between an informed opinion and an uninformed opinion. The informed opinion is the person who listened to the conversation and then entered with their own opinion. And that's why summarizing another writer's ideas is important. So when it comes to entering a conversation, any type of conversation, right, you first want to listen to what other people say and then respond with your own opinion. So that's why the underlining structure of academic writing, revolves on this key topic, this key skill of summarizing. So I'll break it down just a little further. So think about it in 3 steps, right? If writing is like entering into a conversation, the first thing you want to do is you want to get a sense of what the topic is and what are the major opinions on it on the moment. The second thing you want to do is start getting a sense of summarizing what some of the major opinions are on that topic. From there, after you've summarized, you are in a better position to enter that conversation as someone who's informed with your own opinion in response. So you're in dialogue with the people that you've been summarizing. And so writing is this communal thing. It doesn't just happen in a vacuum. You are sharing your opinion in relation to the opinions of other people. So that gets me to what summaries are. So summaries condense any type of information. So it could be an entire book, a chapter of a book, or a couple of key passages. When it comes to a summary, we're just giving an overview of the main points and some of the primary details or evidence. We're not going into the details. We're just summarizing for readers so that they get a sense of what the major opinion is. And here's a big part of summaries. They should be significantly shorter, smaller, more concise than the original material that you're summarizing. So that's really key to understand. Okay, so summary. Summarizing, what does it mean? A summary states the main idea of a source concisely, and the key thing is that you have to do it in your own words. So unlike a paraphrase, a summary does not get focused on the details of every specific point. You're just trying to get to a very brief overview of the ideas and be as short as possible. So summaries, as I said, they can give a recap of an entire book, essay, or maybe a few paragraphs or sentences. And within a summary, one of the things to remember is that you still want to give credit to the source that you're summarizing. So just because you're writing a summary and you're putting it in your own words, you still have to remember that, oh, I need to let my reader know that this opinion belongs to this person and they said it in this specific page or part of their writing. Here's an important thing that I think some writers miss when it comes to writing a summary. And that's sometimes people start putting their own opinion in a summary. And you don't want to do that. A summary is you're summarizing someone else's opinion, in order for then later you can enter a conversation with your own opinion in response. So you want to save your opinion. So a summary, you're basically summarizing other people's ideas. You're trying to be objective and neutral. So a couple of guidelines when it comes to summarizing. I've already mentioned this, but I'll say it again. You want to tell readers the author of the source, and you can do that either in a signal phrase or a parenthetical citation. And I'll show you an example so you can see what that looks like. Your summary should be shorter than the original text. Use your own words to summarize. If you're going to quote something from a summary, you have to put it in quotation marks, but avoid quoting. It should all be in your own words. Remember, it's a brief overview. And then include page numbers from the original source if that is relevant. So let's look at an example that I have here. So here we have an original text, and it has a lot of details when it comes to summarizing. So in this original text, we have the year 1938, and it describes a series of now classic experiments. So exposure to synthetic dyes derived from coal and belonging to a class of chemicals called aromatic amines was shown to cause bladder cancer in dogs. Okay, a lot of details. I'm trying to figure out what the topic is. These results helped explain why bladder cancers had become so prevalent among dyestuff workers. Again, a lot of extra details. I'm kind of lost in this paragraph. With the invention of mauve in 1854, synthetic dyes began replacing natural plant-based dyes in the coloring of cloth and leather. By the beginning of the 20th century, bladder cancer rates among this group of workers had skyrocketed, and the dog experiments helped unravel the mystery. So, as you saw me read through this paragraph, there's a lot of different details here. We have the author, we know where it's from, and we know what page it is. So if we were to use summary, if we were to summarize this, we would just get the major overview of like the main point. So we would start by introducing the author, and this is what I call a signal phrase. This is when you let the reader know that this is the author's opinion. So Steingraber explains that experiments with dogs demonstrated that aromatic amines, chemicals used in synthetic dyes, can cause bladder cancer. That summarizes all of this stuff without any of the details, and it does it really concisely. And in parentheses, you see right here, that's just to let the reader know that there's a page number, and then we put a period. So that's a really simple one-sentence summary. From here on out, I want to talk about some practical steps to write a summary and then give you a walkthrough about how I would do it. So when you're writing a summary, here are a couple things you want to keep in mind. First, you want to know what you're summarizing. So you want to select a passage or an entire article or a book or a chapter of a book that you're going to summarize, right? Then a couple things you can do is you want to skim through that section, that passage that you're going to summarize. So either looking at the first sentence, the last sentence, and then highlighting keywords and phrases throughout the passage, throughout the text that you want to summarize. Now, once you have these keywords and these key phrases, then you can start circling them and making a list of them in order to know what are the most relevant things you want to say, how you want to condense it, in order to convey the main point of that passage. So getting the keywords is a really key part of writing a summary, because once you have those keywords in a passage, then you can start playing around with those keywords to make a sentence. Then you review your summary. You go back over the passage that you're summarizing to make sure, does this really express all the main points that the writer is trying to get across? And then finally, you include a signal phrase to let readers know who the author is, and page numbers if applicable. Final thing to add is using strong signal verbs. So when you're using signal phrases to say something like Steingraber explains, you can also emphasize how the writer feels as they're giving their opinion on something. So you can say something like Carol Dweck acknowledges, or Carol Dweck rejects. That's such a strong word instead of just they say. She rejects has a more specific context. So just to give you a walkthrough of how I would use those steps to create a summary, I'm going to look at this article. It's Brainology by Carol S. Dweck, and it talks about growth mindsets and fixed mindsets. And what I like about this article is that there's certain sections here. So I could summarize the entire article. I could easily do that. Or I could choose to just summarize a specific section of the article. So let's say I'm going to summarize this section right here. What do we value? So I've copied and pasted that section into a Microsoft Word document. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to skim read through this section, the 3 paragraphs. And as I read, I'm going to highlight specific words that stand out. So I'm going to pause the video. And when I restart the video, you'll see that there's a bunch of highlights that I've made, as well as a list of those highlights. And that's going to help me write my summary. Okay, so I read through this passage, the end of Brainology, and as I was reading, I just highlighted words that stood out to me and phrases that stood out to me. Now, when you do this, you don't have to make this list. I'm just doing it to illustrate. It helps me. It honestly helps me, but no worries, you don't have to make this list. The important thing is that you're highlighting the important concepts that are standing out in whatever thing you're highlighting, in whatever passage you're planning to summarize. So now that I have the things that really stood out to me and this list as well, I can start creating a summary that is much shorter than these 3 paragraphs to summarize the main point that Carol Dweck is doing. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to look at this list that I have right here, and I'm just going to start experimenting on and create a sentence or 2 that summarizes that section for my readers. So I'm going to pause the video, and then when I come back, there should be a sentence there or 2. Summary doesn't have to be 1 sentence, where I summarize that section using this list that I've created from the words that I've highlighted for myself. Okay, so looking at what I read and the list that I made, I created this sentence here that is a summary of these ideas. Now, as you read my summary, you're going to notice I didn't use everything here. These ideas are only to help get me started and think about what are the main points that I want to condense. So this is what I ended up writing. We worship talent and intelligence instead of effort and dedication. And so worship talent, but she also says there's a contrast somewhere here about dedication and effort. Parents and teachers, should encourage students to see the joy and challenges, how mistakes can teach us valuable information for growth, and that by putting in effort, they are improving their intelligence and skills. So now that I have my summary here, I can go about summarizing this section. But there's one part that's missing. I still need to add the signal phrases. My readers don't know that these are Carol Dweck's ideas. So I'm going to pause the video one last time and add those signal phrases. Okay, now you can see from the changes that I've added, I added some signal phrases here to let the reader know that these are Dweck's ideas and not my own. And at the same time, I was very mindful not to insert my opinion of this topic just yet. Remember, the summary is there to give a summary of other people's opinions. So thank you very much. I hope this video has been helpful when it comes to writing your summaries.